What's up, ESI Digital Spring? We have the arguably the best panel of the day. It is the conversation of whether chess is an esport. I'm your moderator, Kerry Wananen, journalist with Esports Insider, and I'm joined today with a fantastic panel. To my left, we have Walter Wong, who is head of operations of TSM, Andrew Peterman, Chief Content Officer of Envy Gaming, Gaia Snara, she is the sport director of Play Magnus Group, and finally Danny Wrench, the Chief Chess Officer of Chess.com. I'm honored to be joined with all of you today, and let's just quickly go around and introduce your roles in your organizations. Let's start with you, Walter.
Sounds good. So I run operations at TSM, so that means I do a little bit of everything from finance to legal to managing our GMs and picking up talent, signing players, just sort of do what is most important for the company on the day. That's what I do.
Okay, Andrew?
Hello. As a chief content officer, that is the large majority of marketing, brand strategy, creators, content, as you'd assume, social media, and kind of all things esports and gaming entertainment.
Nice. Gaia?
Yeah, hi. So I come from journalism and TV production. I've been working as a sports journalist for many years. I do not come from chess at all, but I have been working now with chess ever since Magnus Carlsen became world champion in 2013. That was a big deal in Norway. And after working with that for a few years, I went over to the Play Magnus Group. So that is Magnus Carlsen's company. And I'm now working with producing a production or TV production, online production for the Champions Chess Tour.
Awesome. And Danny?
Yeah, I guess in a more traditional company, I would probably have a title similar to Andrew's, actually, in regards to what I do on a day-to-day basis. The content part of chess.com and just sort of our goals to grow chess online and throughout the world. Content is the main tool we have for that. And so if we were describing what we do on a daily basis, it's helping just kind of guide the ship as far as everything we do, from our content both on the site, also our events and our broadcasts for the big tournaments we do, and whether they're esports events or not, we'll find out by the end of today, I guess. But I oversee pretty much our chess entertainment and chess education in general, and also just having been with chess.com since the beginning, kind of do everything I can to just influence the chess products and the chess tools and our kind of broader chess strategy. I'm a former kind of professional chess player myself before accidentally turning into a chess businessman more than a decade ago. So that's what I would describe what a chief chess officer, the most made up title here, does.
I mean, I never thought I would ever be speaking to a chief chess officer in my life, and I'm honored, honestly. All right, to start off the conversation, in doing some research for this panel, I learned that there is a almost fully functional chess program that operates at 1,024 kilobits against an AI. It's very small file size. You can play almost, I guess, on a calculator even. And many of today's esports titles are massive file sizes, and there's so much going on, and the complexity, computing power is super intense. And chess arguably is a pretty low tech program, but also in terms of the game itself. So my first question that I would like to uncover with you guys is chess big enough? Not necessarily complex. There's so many strategies that go into chess, just like other esports as well. But from a technical standpoint, is chess big enough to be considered an esport? And does that in the end matter at all? Let's start with you, Walter. It sounds like maybe you're on mute, Walter.
Looks
guess
like
you
I am
can't
on
sound
mute.
good. Yeah,
I'm
cool.
unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think I don't think you can count chess out as an esport just because it's a smaller game file size. I mean, obviously everyone knows Call of Duty, like it's like 200 gigabytes now, and you almost can't even fit it on one PlayStation hard drive these days. But I think if you take a look at some other esports titles, I mean, look at Tetris. Tetris is also a very small game. It's a very simple game, and this can be considered an esport as well. And I definitely don't think you can count out chess from a technical perspective as an esport. Just because it has a small file size. Whether chess is an esport or not, that's probably a different question, though.
Andrew, you wanna chime in there?
Yeah, sure. I completely agree. I think software is small, art is big. That's kind of the general rule with games. The software that actually operates the game engines. I mean, even in the most complex games, it's not big. I mean, we landed on the moon with a comparably sized computer, right? So the stuff that is the brains of it is that is small, just due to the nature of it. And like Walter said, there's so much, I would say, content in the form of art assets and the models and all the stuff that goes into games. That's what inflates the size, the maps, and all of that. So I completely agree with Walter that just because a game is larger or smaller in terms of size on the computer, I wouldn't say that has any relation to its qualification to be an esport.
Right, and yeah, I guess as both of you gentlemen said, that a lot of what bloats it is aesthetics, the skins and all the customization, and so chess is very, at base it is what it is. There's no skins, there's no frills. It just is what it is. Kaya, did you want to chip in too?
Absolutely. So I know even if chess doesn't really require a lot of kilobytes or megabytes, I don't, I have no relationship with how much megabytes is. But even if chess doesn't require it, with AI, chess is becoming extremely deep. So I think there's like almost 300 billion possible positions on the chessboard after only 4 moves in the game. And so with AI becoming such a big part of chess, AI is now the only thing that can calculate chess perfectly. So there's not really any turning back. Chess is now an online game, and it's an extremely deep online game. But I do think there's huge potential when it comes to chess as an esport in design, sound effects, features you can use to sort of make the mental distance from the viewers to the players smaller. And yeah, I do think there's huge potential in maybe adding some more megabytes to chess online, but I do think it's deep enough.
Yeah, and Danny, you have run multiple chess tournaments on Twitch for on behalf of chess.com. So maybe you can also speak about that aspect of running a tournament in a similar fashion to maybe an esports tournament maybe run online.
Yeah, I think all of our other panelists kind of hit the nail on the head, and I think talking about adding to what Kaya said, I think she's right that there's a lot of potential to, we'll call it, gamify the viewing experience, right? And I think that as it's funny because as someone who's guiding the chess product in terms of what makes a great online and digital chess playing experience, it is for the players to be actually as lean as possible. The fact that it is as simple as possible. In fact, we deal with this a lot. What is the right animation to have, even for a little capture, and how much sound to add? Because we want it to be fun and cool, but actually every one of those little things adds a little bit of data that has to be transferred and can sometimes bloat the experience for players who are so good and want the board and the snappiness to feel as clean as possible when they're playing games with just seconds on the clock, right? And so I think keeping the game as lean as possible is actually by design for the best and most optimal playing experience. But then on the entertainment side, in terms of how chess is delivered that's where I think we have focused a lot in terms of not just the way we design our events, from the formats to how we talk about the chess on the board. I would echo what Kaya said, just in terms of making that fun, but also immediately engaging and not making it feel like there's a large gap between. We none of us will ever play like Magnus Carlsen and know totally what's in his head, but understanding is, or at least helping explain in a way that conceptually can be relatable, is one of the things that I think. One of the reasons esports are so popular is one, most of the viewers have all played them, and so they appreciate how great it is and hard it is to be really good at them, right? But also, I think they can immediately understand some of the simple goals in front of them. And chess has lacked that ability to immediately connect with the viewer. And we've worked super hard on how we present, how we broadcast, and we've actually done 2 iterations of bringing actually doing a fully, call it a live esports final model with Twitch. We partnered and actually had the Pro Chess League go from being online for the whole season to having a physical, call it phygital, right? They're all physically together, but playing digitally on their computers in front of each other. I just learned that word the other day, phygital, and I thought it was super cool, so I had to work it in. Yeah, so we've done that, and I think it's shown a lot of potential there. But overall, yes, to keep it focused on the question, I don't believe the file size should be held against it. The possibilities in chess are exponential, and with the neural nets and machine learning and Google's DeepMind project with AlphaZero, the investment being made into try to solve the game. And yet we can put a man on the moon, as Andrew said, yet we haven't solved a game of complete information that is defined with 64 squares within limited parameters of the pieces. It's fascinating if you put it in those sort of terms, right? So the depth and complexity there is very real, and I don't think the file size should be held against it.
Yeah, and also, I mean, many esports started from a more basic title and then evolved, or a new game was created based on that. So I just want to ask a quick question overall to the panel of, could chess be the beginning of a new esport? We already have a sort of auto chess battling system that has a small esports scene, but with the new rising popularity of chess and the interactivity of Twitch and these other platforms, could chess potentially blow up in a way to become a new sort of perhaps turn-based or some sort of new esport? Do you guys see any promise there? Let's start with Kaya there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, well, I think that chess, it must be, the original and, the ultimate war game. It started out with chess, and now we have all these other games, and especially esport games. So definitely there's huge potential. And it is, like Danny also mentions, that the mental distance from the viewer to the top players is probably the biggest in chess. There is no other game where we find it so difficult for normal people to understand what is going on, what is a blunder, what is a genius move. So I think the whole success factor behind chess becoming a popular esport must be behind the presentation of it, making it easier to understand, getting intrigued with the moves, understanding, now he has to make that move or he cannot make that move. I think, it's all about making that mental distance a little bit shorter somehow.
Yeah. Anybody else want to chip in there?
Yeah, I think that.
Oh, go ahead.
I think esports has a very similar presentation issue, where sometimes the game can be difficult to not so much broadcast, but to explain to viewers that are not very familiar with the complexities. And so in that way, chess and esports, traditional esports, have very similar problems from a broadcasting perspective. I also just wanted to touch on something Walter said, which is it was actually what Danny said, which is that the players when they're playing chess on chess.com have very particular requirements of like how snappy the board, how it feels, right? And they don't want bloat to make 3D pieces. They want 2D pieces. They don't need extra sounds. They don't need extra animations. I think it's very interesting because one of the first things that pro gamers do when they install a game is they turn the graphic settings all the way down. And I think that is also something that is similar between esports and chess.
Yeah, I
great
think
point,
maybe
Andrew.
perhaps it's more for the viewers, to give the viewers some tools to understand better what is going on. And if that is in the graphics, if it's, just markers showing that this is the right move he should make, or this is the wrong move he should, not make, just sound effects when, you have the genius moves or the blunders. I don't really know, but I think it's all about for the viewers to make it easier to understand what's going on.
Yeah, I have
what were you
one
going to
thing
say,
to add
Walter?
on that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Walter. No, Walter, go ahead. I already talked. Go ahead, Walter.
Oh, well, I was just sort of piggybacking off Andrew and Kaya's point. I think there's a big difference between chess turning into becoming a baseline new game, right? Baseline for esport, right? Chess obviously spawned a bunch of different games, right? Inspiration for a lot of different things if you look at the video game space. But what esports implies is that spectator experience, right? Is that people want to watch. It's not that they don't, not just that. And so, I agree with what Andrew and Kai, all talk about, that in esports and in chess, it's really about that spectator experience, building tools, building a viewing experience that makes people want to watch the game rather than not just play it.
Yeah, great point. Did you want to wrap up what you were saying, Danny?
Yeah, I wanted to say, based on your original question, whether chess would spawn into something new, I think that in some ways I would argue that it doesn't need to. I think unlike a lot of other esports, in fact, every other video game to some degree is a form of entertainment for the fans by actually disconnecting from reality. You're not actually a wizard casting spells. I don't think you are. Maybe you are, Carrie. But if you're not, then when you play League of Legends, you're not. Right. You're not a real wizard, right? You're not shooting people in real life, and you're not even LeBron James when you play NBA 2K. It's all a fantasy, right? Whereas chess is actually the same exact game online as it is in the terms we use called over the board, classical chess. And so when you watch Magnus Carlsen, play a great game online in his Champions Tour, he could be playing an opening or taking an approach that he's going to use in the World Championship later this year. And that connection actually is so just awesome and organic because, as Kaya said, it is the original war game. It dates back to 600 AD, and the game of chess has been the first like one-on-one battle as far as esports or otherwise that has ever existed. And I think we've learned that the fact that you can resonate so quickly with experiences that people have in real life to the online playing experience is actually one of the biggest strengths it has going for it, as it's had this explosion over the last, we'll call it this year, with the growth on Twitch and the Queen's Gambit, because it's shown that there's a lot of people who already know how to play chess and just didn't know how interested or how enthusiastic they might be about it. But now they've been given a chance. And the last thing I'll say is that if we talk about giving the viewers the experience that makes them connect with the top players, a lot of people have made comparisons for years about giving chess its poker moment. And I've been on the front line of that, been at chess.com forever. And I would argue that what made poker, people say that, but I think a lot of people forget what actually made poker on TV was one thing. The one thing that changed the game for poker was the pocket cam. Because the moment the viewer had more knowledge than the pro, Phil Ivey's got pocket aces and he's doing the right thing, but he doesn't know Phil Hellmuth just caught a jack on the river and now he's going to beat him. He doesn't know that, but I know that as the viewer because I have the pocket cam, right? That suspense and that drama in terms of what the viewer has is what keeps them watching poker in a live TV fashion. And so without getting into everything we do on that, but I would say that if I was to say one philosophical goal I have as far as chess edutainment, right, making it educational and entertaining, it's to do what I can to give the viewers those moments where they feel they know something and are on the edge of their seat about something that maybe, the players, obviously they know what's going on at advanced level, but there's time pressure, there's other elements that the viewer can see that keeps them intrigued in the drama. And I think that that's what we're trying to do a lot on the chess, edutainment side, is give people those sort of pocket cam moments. So.
Absolutely. I just want to add on there, what Danny is saying, that, the best moments that we have on the Champions Chess Tour broadcast is when the players has one move and we use the AI, we use the stockfish, the chess computers to see what is the next move for the player. And sometimes there's only one move to either win the game or to not lose the game. And when we give the viewers that information, that is the best moments we have and the most intriguing for the viewers, where you can say, okay, we have to sit here now and wait. Will he find this move? So giving information, I think it's a very good point.
Yeah, that's fascinating. And I think that's also what really makes broadcast sport, it gives it its sort of edge rather than watching it live, is getting all of the stats and being able to look at data or have data analyzed and presented for you to make certain aspects more potentially interesting, but also more informed of last time they did this happened, or the chances of this actually going through for all players is very low, and these sort of things to sort of not artificially create interesting moments, but to add more context in relation of a greater picture of having more data and information on that. And what you were mentioning earlier, Danny, about how chess is one of perhaps the largest, one of the oldest esport type games, one-on-ones, adds to the fact that it is also a timeless and classic game, which in a way gives it such brand security. It's a very safe game. There's nothing that would turn off a brand from sponsoring a chess tournament or a chess player. Whereas in many esports, there's violence or guns or these sort of things that maybe could turn off a sponsor. And both TSM and Team Envy have actually signed competitive chess players and content creator influencers. So I would like to just ask both the esports guys about their approach with that, and if brand safety was part of these decisions at all. Let's start with you, Andrew.
Brand safety specifically was not a big part of the decision. I mean, recognizing chess as one of the most strategic, competitive, arguably beautiful games in the world was certainly a factor, and also its incredible ability to be a canvas for kind of layered entertainment on top of it, whether that's challenges or variations of chess. Like chess is, in and of itself, a fantastic game, but what some of these content creators are doing with it is allowing a wider audience to understand it and get involved in it in very unique ways. So that's what we were excited about. Is it's kind of watching. I mean, when we first started talking with Alexandra and Andrea, that was before Queen's Gambit, and I think Walter, your conversations were were also before Queen's Gambit. So what we were seeing happen on Twitch was before the mainstream explosion of chess, and so I think that says a lot for the fact that its staying power and that it's not entirely tied to its just recent rise is not entirely tied to just the success of Queen's Gambit, the show.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, I think this question really gets at sort of the core of what an esports organization or an esports company or esports team tries to do, right? Is that the thing that we do ask ourselves every day is, what are we going to invest in, right? Where are we going to allocate our capital? Where are we going to allocate our resources? And chess is one of those games where, if you take a look at it, like the viewership was exploding on Twitch. All the big streamers were playing it. This was before Queen Gambit. And really what an esports organization thinks about when investing in a new game, whether it be chess, whether it be in an influencer, or whether it be in a new video game like Wild Rift, right, is, look, number one is, does it build fandom, right? Does it bring you more fans if you invest in this game? Because some investing in these games are not cheap. Like, think about Overwatch League, Call of Duty League. They're $20 million a franchise tag, right? Obviously chess was a much smaller investment. And then number two is thinking about, okay, how do we monetize? What is the return on investment, right? And obviously chess, yes, it was brand safe, and obviously the viewership is really good. So maybe we do get additional sponsors because we're invested in this game. And maybe we do get more interesting reach to a different audience that interests other brands or and things like that. And so I think when we evaluated chess at TSM, it was really in those two buckets, in those two pillars.
Yeah, and Kaya and Danny, I was wondering if, because you guys have a bit more experience with broadcast and just working with, more I don't necessarily want to say traditional, but more legacy brands in terms of doing chess broadcasts and tournaments and stuff. Do you guys see any potential, or a better way to phrase this would be, what could you potentially see as stopping more brands and partnerships from moving into chess, and also other, not just esports orgs, but potentially even traditional sports orgs of working with chess players, or supporting their players for picking up chess as a hobby?
So I think the perfect example of the value of chess is the 1972 World Chess Championship match with Bobby Fischer and Boris Spassky, where it really demonstrated how much. So both the Soviet and the US desperately wanted to win that match during the Cold War, because it would demonstrate intellectual power. And it's working with Magnus Carlsen today, I see a lot of the same. So a lot of companies, and especially like tech companies, lawyer firms, they want to be associated with Magnus Carlsen, or even with big chess tournaments, because it is the intellectual power they want to sort of ooze out. But then again, the problem for chess, again, can't say it enough, is the mental distance from the viewers to the top players. And so that's always our issue, to make that mental distance shorter, so we do have more viewers, and again are more attractive to big companies. And I also think there is an issue for chess to get more big profiles. You do have Magnus Carlsen now. His name is huge. So many companies want to be associated with him. We have Hikaru Nakamura, who's done some really smart stuff and becoming a huge name with online chess. But I think chess is very much looking for the real life Beth Harmon. They are looking for that next special person. Preferably maybe a woman.
Yeah, a lot of great points made. I think to frame it initially from your starting point in regards to chess being a safe bet, I think that regardless of the brand safe question or not, Andrew and Walter commented on that, but really, I think it's a safe bet. I can speak to when our partnership initially started with Amazon and Twitch about more than 5 years ago, when we connected and they were like, hey, we want to start working more closely with chess.com and help grow that. And without getting into all the details of that and all the levers we were trying to pull, the big belief by all of us, and from the leadership at Twitch, from the top down to us, was that, hey, chess is primed to have, there's a lot of things here suggestive of the fact that chess could be, crazy as it may sound now, a top 10, top 5 category on Twitch. And the reason they believe that is because of its legacy. Because before the pandemic, Carrie, I can tell you that there were more than 11 million rated games played physically over the board around the world, right? So 11 million games played by the global chess community that wasn't even playing them online. We have more than 11 million games played every day on chess.com now, but that's the physical aspect of it. Shows that there's a community and a legacy to it that so many other games don't have. It's accepted as the most cognitively beneficial game for kids because it stimulates critical thinking and consequences to your actions. Whether that's true or not, a lot of chicken before the egg kind of freakonomic stats might argue differently. But the point is, chess doesn't have to convince people like Minecraft or other video games does that it's good for kids, right? It is good for kids, and it's accepted as such. It's seen as a symbol of strategic thinking, right? The intellectually elites, as Kaya just said, are why Magnus has attracted the sponsors and the interest he's had, but also Fabiano Caruana, the top American, was just signed to a sponsorship deal with Intel, right? One of the top technology companies in the world, right? And they'll be sponsoring him and hoping he makes a comeback in the upcoming candidates and might be battling Magnus again for the world championship. So I think there are there's always been natural synergistic ways to connect with chess because of the things I was talking about. But I think TSM's move and Envy's move to connect with Hikaru and the Botez sisters respectively was also a really big step, more because it showed that there was a lot of interest in the more, we'll call them fringe enthusiasts. I think what TSM and Envy recognize is that there are a lot of people who are fans of chess who don't know they're fans of chess yet. And we think that these people like Hikaru and Alexandra and Andrea and the Beth Harmon thing that Kaya just mentioned, a transcendent type of person and type of entertainer has the ability to kind of make people feel things that they didn't know they felt. And I think that the online community and the way people want to consume content and connect with their favorite personalities is what Envy and TSM recognized early and get a lot of credit for that. And there are a lot of other people that have now been signed to esports orgs, regardless of the size of that esport org or their competitors to TSM and Envy. So I won't comment on the other names, right? But we know that they're out looking for top chess talent and chess educational talent, right? People that are interesting and make you want to connect with them. So I think there are synergistic ways for people to get involved. I think it's a safe bet in terms of the legacy, the amount of people. 600 million people know how to play chess around the world, whether they play it actively or not. A lot of studies have shown data, and we have more than, I can tell you on our site, we have more than 6 million daily active users, right? And that's grown a lot since the Queen's Gambit. In fact, in 2019, it was 1 million daily active users. So that tells you what's happened over the last little bit. And that's just a cool way to say, like, hey, it's a lot of people engaging with chess. And so maybe I think a lot of that is just starting to be known in a game category that historically relied on big events like the World Championship to show interest. Now it's there all the time, and it's slowly building, and it's not going away. So I think it might just be to take time before people realize what a safe bet it is.
Yeah, and I mean, I think especially nowadays, nobody can really talk about chess without having that direct or indirect association with the Queen's Gambit, and that it's done such a great job of promoting awareness. And exactly as you said, Danny, a lot of people are fans of chess that don't know that they're fans of chess. And so what I think is maybe interesting is, when will there be a Queen's Gambit esports moment? Is when, talking about content being king, of when will there be a series that puts the shoe on the other foot of people that are fans of esports, but they don't know it yet. And I think perhaps chess could be an entry point into that. Of maybe once you start understanding chess, then it can, these other games can start making a bit more sense, and then sort of saying, oh, okay, I can understand the risks that are involved here, or what have you. And so I think that what will be the best use of our time right now is to get to the meat of the question. Is chess an esport? I want to start with you, Danny.
Oh no. So I'll say that, how do we get there? How does chess have an esports moment, or esports moment for chess? I mean, we've done some, like I said, we for 2 years did a live final in San Francisco with our partners at Twitch, where we brought a digital experience to a live final. But there were a lot of things about what happened there that have told us that maybe it was a little ahead of its time. We did it in 2018 and 2019. There were plans to do it in 2020 with partners, with some of our Norwegian partners at the Oslo Fjord, which is anyway, it didn't happen because of the global pandemic we all faced. So we have been on this path of doing our best to try to make chess an esport in terms of how it's traditionally been defined in some ways, which is that live audience experience. It is a digital game, but there's the sporting element of the crowds and the cheering and the appreciation for how awesome this is. And we felt like chess had this potential, but through a number of factors, it may have been a little early. But I know that there are plans for more events to do that, not just our own, but plans at the Magnus Group as far as the Champions Tour. And I think a lot of people are really seeing the potential of bringing digital fans out of the woodwork into physical experiences and appreciate what a live experience of a digital game might be, which is to me what makes an esport, right? It's a digital, it's a technology based game. But okay, long-winded way. Is it an esport? I would almost answer maybe it doesn't have to be. I mean, iSports are the future anyway, aren't they? No, I'm kidding. But influencer sports are the slight distinction of chess is the most individual game in the world, right? And as long as we have individual stars who are transcending the interest of the game and sharing their love and their entertaining fans, you're able to connect with them in the way that we know people want to consume content these days, which is kind of a la carte on their Twitch and their YouTube and their different live things. I think that's what's most important, is that the top players in the game are relatable. You can connect with them, and that they are helping to deliver content via the iSports fashion. Esports events themselves, I do believe, are a big part of chess's future. But I'm going to say maybe chess is not an esport yet. Maybe shock you. I actually don't know that it is an esport yet, but I think it's on its way, and I believe that things that were ahead of its time before are going to start being done now with where chess has come, and we may see it as an esport in the future. So no, chess is not an esport. Shocker. That's what I think.
Bang. What do you have to say about that, Andrew?
I think,
or Walter, go for it.
yeah, I think I have a different perspective, right? And I think that maybe it might be actually be quite similar. Is that why does it matter? Why does it matter that chess is an esports? Why even label it? Why put chess in a box and why put esports in a box, right? What in the end, what are we all trying to do? We're all trying to bring out the tension, the excitement, the passion, the entertainment of competition, right? What we all do is we play in the attention economy. We're trying to vie for eyeballs. We're trying to create entertainment, and I think that chess doesn't need to be esport, and it doesn't really matter to label it. I think what really matters is that chess and the esports community, or let's say the streaming community, is super synergistic with each other, right? I think that chess is a storied game, as Danny and Kaya mentioned. It's the oldest war game of all time, and it has a storied legacy, right? But to reach a new audience, to reach the younger demographics, esports audience, the digital audience, it's a great way to reach new players. I mean, we have players that are 14, 15, 16, 17, and they've played games all their life on the computer. But then when chess came out and Akaru came playing and XQC started playing in the Twitch rivals and all these things, it's taken over the LCS. Every single professional player in the LCS now plays chess in their free time. And I think esports can do a lot for chess, and chess can do a lot for esports, right? Esports can now say, hey, look, we're in one of these storied games that has a huge legacy, and we can tap into that.
Did you want to say anything about that, Andrew or Kaya?
Yeah, well, I loved what Walter was saying there with, the whole goal of it is to intrigue and to bring the excitement to everyone. And I think for chess has the unique opportunity to work just in two parallel universes. I mean, there's definitely a place for classical over-the-board chess as well. I mean, in the last World Chess Championship, on the final day with Magnus Carlsen versus Fabiano Caruana, 700,000 Norwegians were watching the Norwegian broadcast. And this is in a country with 5 million people. So it was one of the biggest TV sports event of the entire year in Norway. And this was classical over-the-board chess, 5 hours of two players sitting, across from each other. It doesn't sound that intriguing, but it really is. But I do think definitely there is a place for chess as an esport to, bring a younger audience, to have shorter time controls, to, and make it a more exciting and lively product as well. But I would love to see, both of them going forward, just also as an esport and also as the over-the-board classical.
What do you think, Andrew?
I think everyone's nailed it. Esports comes from a place of organic kind of inception. It's everybody was competing just for the love of the game, and over time, as broadcast tools evolved and it could be watched around the world, esports, the competition through video games is what esports is, and that was popularized such that there was no central authority that could tell you whether a game was an esport or not. And I agree with everyone that I don't think that to label it matters. I mean, obviously that's a very popular argument. People argue whether one game or one form of a game is an esport or not. But at the end of the day, I think what matters is if the audience is there. I think competitive integrity matters. I think accessibility matters. Those are things that are shared by all major esports as well as chess. So I would, the way I would answer the question is I think it has a lot of the characteristics of traditional esports, but I don't think it matters to label it as an esport.
Yeah. Sounds like we didn't reach a conclusion other than we are hopeful that they can be synergetic, I guess, and complement each other and just continue to move each other forward. I'm going to take questions from the audience. This one from Anonymous. Can anyone speak on the frustration of draws at the highest level tournaments?
Yes.
You take it, Kaya. Go ahead.
Well, yeah. Well, huge frustrations with the number of draws, but with online chess, we are seeing actually less of it in the Meltwater Champions Chess Tour over the last few tournaments. We actually had a draw percentage of only 40% in the preliminaries, the first few games. But many measures are, being taken, and players are very hesitant to, giving more points for a win and less points for a draw and stuff like that. They think draws are a very important factor of chess, and it is. But yeah, I would love to hear if Danny has some cool suggestions for how to get those draws down.
When Kaya was mentioning the game 12 between Caruana and Carlsen and all the incredible the reach that it had, I was about to interject and say, and it was it was a draw. That's how much viewership it had, even though the game was a draw, and left the fans, sort of feeling robbed a little bit. But I feel like every World Championship that comes around, I'm giving interviews to the New York Times, or someone reaches out and says, "Hey, why are all the draws?" And they reach out to chess.com, and I have to kind of defend the process, so to speak. And I don't really know that there is a solution outside of. I would argue that it's actually for us on the broadcast entertainment side and the educational side to try to help shape the narrative of things like what could have happened, things that show appreciation for how difficult and complicated the game is, and why what they're arriving at was actually the most fair result. And it doesn't mean there wasn't a lot of excitement along the way, but it is an inherent issue that chess has always had, in that and there's been people who are from the most traditional chess thinking minds that have said we should find ways to eliminate the draw, and in ways that a lot of the other chess purists have been like, get out of here, right? That's not what this game is. It's at chess played best. We don't know yet. I think there's a lot of assumptions made that when the neural networks and machine learning tools solve the game, it will be a draw, but we don't actually know. Maybe white is winning by force, but I would argue there's so much potential in the complexity of it that we need to focus on the things that are interesting, that people can learn from, that they relate to, that are exciting. But the fact that the high levels of chess end in a lot of draws is frankly one of the reasons we've had so much success with our PogChamp series on chess.com, because we learned that people either want to watch those who are the best at chess or those that are really bad at chess. And we get to connect with the fact that they are making blunders and having those exciting moments that we kind of look for in other games. So it's a hard thing to solve. I don't know that we can do it other than shaping the narrative in terms of appreciating why it's so hard, and making sure that we deliver entertainment for the different levels of chess understanding that isn't always focused on the elite, because the elite are going to draw a lot of games because that's their job, to play the best move, and they don't lose very often by design, right? So it's a hard thing. So
Walter, Andrew, did you want to chip in on that one?
I'm curious.
Look, I am not a good chess player. I'm not a good chess player, and I can't say I have an opinion on the draws or anything like that, but I think it's an interesting analogy that maybe you can draw from chess into esports, is like there are certain games where you can't play for the win either, right? You take a look at all these battle royale games like PUBG or Apex Legends, right? And the circle doesn't go your way, you don't have the right loot, and you just try to make the best of the worst situation, and you have to just over more consecutive games, then you can really prove who's the best team or best player. And this is kind of just a part of the beauty of the game, right? It's a mechanic of the game. Like, you're not going to be able to win every game, and you're really not set up to. You're probably set up to lose some of those games. You're just going to have to make the most of it.
Any
Good
last
analogy.
thoughts, Andrew?
I think it's been said well.
I can chip in. So I do think actually with chess as an online sport or esport, there will be less draws because time controls are a lot shorter. And what we did see in the Champions Chess, or when we had a tournament with 16 players versus 12 players, then the draw rate went drastically down because players, when they have to win or they know it's a bigger risk of being knocked out if they don't have a few wins, they will play with a higher risk. So it is a lot up to whoever organizes tournaments and stuff like that to create formats where the players are, where it's not that attractive to play draws. You have to get some wins to go through.
All right, guys, we have just hit our nose on the end of our time slot. So I want to thank all of our panelists, Walter, Andrew, Kaya, and Danny. Thank you so much for participating in this panel and being a part of ESI Digital Spring. And we'll see you guys in the chat. Bye.